If you're wondering whether you can set up Xero by yourself for an Australian business, the good news is you can. And in this video, I'm going to show you how. Because there's quite a lot to set up in Xero, we cover just some of the initial settings here while we cover the setup of other parts of Xero in other videos in this playlist and other playlists on this channel. Now, if you don't already have Xero, the best thing to do is click on the link in the description below or scan the QR code to take advantage of our exclusive 90% discount off the first 6 months of your Xero subscription. This offer is valid at the time of recording and terms and conditions apply, but make sure you click on that link if you want to save some serious money. Okay, now that you've got Xero, when you log in for the first time, it might take you through some setup steps like this, where you can choose various things you'll use in Xero. And when you get to the Xero dashboard, you might see panels like these based on the choices you made. If you don't see these panels, don't worry, because we're not going to use them anyway. Instead, I'm going to show you how to set up Xero for the first time by going to the main drop-down menu at the top left of your screen and choosing Settings. This takes you to the main Settings screen, and from here, you can set up your entire Xero account. To add your business's details to Xero, click on Organization Details on the main Settings screen. The first thing you might want to do is upload a logo. If you click on this information box, you can see that your logo should be an image file that's at least 140 pixels on its shortest side. When you're ready, just click on the Upload Logo button and choose the image file from your device. If you need to delete the logo, click here, or if you want to use a different logo, simply click on the Change Logo button. Next, you need to enter the display name of your business, which is the name you'll see in Xero. Then you need to enter the legal or trading name of your business, which is the name that appears on your financial reports, client invoices, and other finance documents. If you entered those names when you signed up to Xero, they'll be pre-populated, but you can change them now or any other time if you need to. Also, please note that both of these fields are required. Next, you can choose your industry. Again, if you entered this information when you signed up to Xero, it will be pre-populated. You can change it if you need to, and you can also leave it blank as it's not compulsory. Next, you need to select your organization type, which is required, so you can't leave it blank. Just click on the drop-down menu and select your business structure. The business I'm setting up is a company, so I'll choose that one. The next thing you may like to enter is your Australian business number, or ABN. You'll need to enter your ABN into Xero if you're going to lodge your activity statements from Xero. The ABN you enter here can also appear on documents such as quotes and invoices, so even though it's not compulsory, I highly recommend entering your ABN here. Your ABN should be 11 digits long, and as you can see, Xero will check to see whether the ABN is valid or not. Next up is a branch number. You only need to fill this in if you use Xero to do your payroll. If you leave this field blank, Single Touch Payroll will use the number 1 by default. After that, there's an organization description box where you can enter some of the details of your business. The information you enter here will appear in the footer of your invoices and quotes if you make it public. You can leave this field blank if you like. Further down, you can verify your mobile phone number, which you'll need to do before you can save any organization detail changes, so I recommend you do it right away. Further down, you can enter the contact information of your business, such as addresses, phone numbers, your email address, your website homepage, and social media links. None of this is compulsory, but it's a good idea to add as much detail as possible because you can set it up to automatically appear on your invoices and quotes. Once you've entered all your information, just click on Save. At the top of the screen, you should now see the option to display some of your contact information on the invoices that you send to your clients. If you toggle it on, checkboxes will appear beside some of the fields. All you need to do is tick the checkboxes for the information that you want to include on your customer invoices. The checkboxes for logo and legal trading name are grayed out, so you can't unselect them, but for the other fields, you just need to check the boxes for the information you want to include on your invoices. When you're finished, click on Save and head back to the settings page. To add users or change a current user's permissions, go to Users on the main settings screen. First, it's a good idea to check the permissions for the subscriber to your Xero account, which is most likely you. Click on the user's name, and on the next screen, you should see that there are 2 roles available to the subscriber, Administrator and Standard. If you choose Administrator, you'll see that all the task groupings, such as sales, purchases, reporting, etc., are set to full access. This means the user has access to everything in the Xero account. If you click on the task groupings, you'll see that you can add or remove permissions for some tasks if you need to. If you choose Standard instead, you'll see that some task groupings only have some access, and once again, you can go through each tab and add or remove permissions for some of the tasks. Please note that if you add your external accountant or bookkeeper as a user, you would most likely choose the administrator or standard roles to give them access to things like accounting, tax, and reporting. Once you've finished, click on Update Permissions or Cancel to go back to the main screen. Let's familiarize ourselves with other roles before adding a new user. If I click on a user who is not the subscriber, we can see that there are more roles available than just administrator and standard. Each one of these roles comes with preset permissions. For example, if we choose Payroll Admin, the user will have full access to payroll and either some access or no access to other parts of Xero. If we choose the Sales and Purchases role instead, the user will have some access to sales, purchases, reporting, and contacts, and no access to payroll, tax, and a few others. No matter what role you choose, it's a good idea to go through the tabs and make sure the right permissions are in place for each task. Now that we've seen all the roles, let's go back to the main screen and add a user. To add a user, click on the New User button. On the next screen, enter the name and email address of the person, and then select a role from the drop-down box. Next, you can edit permissions for some of the tasks if you need to. Also, keep in mind that you can change this user's role and task permissions later on, so don't worry, you're not stuck with whatever you choose here. When you're finished, click on Send Invite and the invitation will be sent by email. Once the person accepts the invitation, they'll be added to your list of users. If you need to edit the user's permissions or delete the user from your Xero account, click on these three dots to open up the menu. If you need help from Xero support, you can grant them access to your Xero account by clicking on the Grant Access for Xero Support button. If you want to remove their access once they've finished helping you, simply click on the Remove Access for Xero Support button. Once you've finished setting up your users and permissions, head back to the Settings tab. To customize the emails that are sent from Xero when you do things like email invoices to customers, click on Email Settings on the main settings screen. If you click on Edit, you should see a bunch of templates already set up in Xero for things like sales invoices, credit notes, purchase orders, and more. Let's edit the sales invoice template by clicking on it. Here we can see the layout of the email and we can make any changes we want to. For example, you can change the name of the template, and if you have more than one template for a particular type of email, you can choose whether this one is the default template or not. Because this is the only sales invoice template, it's automatically selected as the default and the checkbox is grayed out, so we can't deselect it. Check the next box if you want to be able to add things like a Pay Now button to your invoice emails, and leave it unchecked if you'd rather the email is just a message telling your customer to open an attached PDF invoice. You can also change the title of the email and the message inside the email body. For the title, as well as text, you can also add placeholders, such as this one for invoice number and this one for trading name, which is the trading name of your business that you entered in your organization details. If you want to insert a different placeholder, you can select it from the list. You can also edit the text and placeholders in the body of the email. For example, if you want the email to start with "Hi" and then display the first name of the contact, you would have text that says "Hi" and then a placeholder for contact first name. If you want something different, for example, you could change the text to "Hello" and then delete the placeholder, go to the placeholder list and select something else, such as contact name. You can also make changes to the rest of the email body if you like. For example, if you want the sign-off to be different, you could remove the trading name placeholder and type in your own name. Once you've made your changes, click on Save. If you want to add a brand new email template, just click on this button, choose the type of template from the list, and then construct the template using a combination of text and placeholders. When you're finished, don't forget to toggle on or off whether you want it to be a default template. If you need more information, just click on See Our Help article. When you get to this page, scroll down and click on Adding Email Templates, and you'll get to this help article, which explains everything you need to know in detail, particularly the type of placeholders that you can use for each email. For example, it says that you can use the amount due placeholder on the invoice reminder template, the sales invoice template, and the repeating invoice template. Once you've finished, you can go back to settings. Before you start using Xero properly or start entering transactions, it's a good idea to set up your GST tax rates. To do that, find the tax section of the settings screen and click on tax rates. Here you can see that I have 6 GST tax rates, which is the basic set of tax rates in Xero. There's also advanced tax rates, which you can get to by clicking on this button. The first thing you'll see is an information box that says you can change to these rates if your bookkeeping requires it. It also says that if you make the change, you need to manually update these tax rates in places Xero uses them, including things like the chart of accounts, inventory, your bank rules, and invoices. You don't want to have to do this as it's a huge task, so it's important to make sure you've chosen the right set of tax rates from the beginning. So how do you know which tax rates you need? If your annual GST turnover is less than $10 million, you can usually use the simpler BAS, which means you can use the basic tax rates in Xero. If your annual GST turnover is more than $10 million, you'll use the full BAS, which means you'll need to switch to the advanced rates. This is just a basic guide, however, so it's best to check with your tax accountant or the ATO if you're not sure. Once you've selected the right tax rates for your business, you can go back to settings. We're now going to set up some financial settings in Xero that once again I recommend you do before you start using Xero. To get there, scroll down to the accounting section and click on financial settings. The first setting is the financial year end, which you can change if you click on this link. I'm going to leave mine as 30th of June because that's my financial year end date, but you can put in a different date if you need to. Next, we've got some activity statement settings. The first one is your GST accounting method, and you can choose from cash basis, accruals basis, or none. If you aren't registered for GST, choose none. If you're a small business that has a GST turnover of less than $10 million a year, choose cash. If you're a larger business that turns over more than $10 million a year, choose accruals. Next, you can enter the tax file number of your business right here. And after that, you need to choose your GST calculation method. If you don't pay GST, you can choose none. But if you do pay GST, you can choose either monthly, annually, or one of the quarterly options. Next, you can choose your pay-as-you-go withholding tax period, and you have a choice of none, monthly, or quarterly. This normally relates to the withholding tax that you withhold from your employees when you run the payroll, and you later pay to the ATO through your BAS and IAS returns. Next, you can choose a pay-as-you-go income tax method. This is the income tax you pay throughout the year to the ATO through your BAS returns. You can choose either none or option 1 if you pay the tax in fixed quarterly installments, or option 2 if you pay the tax based on your business's income multiplied by a rate. Next, if you pay either fringe benefits tax, fuel tax credits, or wine equalization tax, check the appropriate boxes here. The next settings down are the GST tax defaults for things like your invoices, quotes, bills, and purchase orders. Here you can choose whether you want the amounts on those documents to include or exclude GST by default. You can override these settings on individual documents if you like, so don't worry, you're not stuck with whatever you choose here. Further down, there's some lock dates that can be set up to prevent users from doing anything in your Xero file before a certain date. This is something your tax accountant may use at the end of the financial year to stop changes being made to your Xero account after your tax return has been finalized and lodged. And finally, make sure to set your time zone by selecting it from the drop-down list. When you're finished, click on Save and go back to Settings. So that's it for your initial Xero settings. Don't forget to check out our other videos about setting up other parts of Xero before you start using it to do the books for your business. And also don't forget to click on the link below or scan the QR code to get 90% off the first 6 months of your Xero subscription if you don't have Xero yet. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video.